one of the things that's really important is when you're on set, shooting for that visual effect that you're going to do. And, just about any time where you know you're going to composite something in there, one of the first things you really need to try to do is to get a clean plate
Yeah.
and make sure you have that clean plate because that'll make all the difference when you're putting something else in.
I always like to get my clean plates a little wider,
Right.
just in case. I mean, definitely in the camera, have everybody step out. But if you've got like a photographer on set, try to match the lens settings, take a picture, or if you're on a zoom lens or just tripod, move it back a little bit, just so you have it. You never know.
Exactly. And one of the things, also to keep in mind, I mean, out of laziness on my part, if I'm going to do an effects shot like that, I usually like to have a lockdown camera. But,
Yeah.
sometimes director's vision, that's not always the case. So when you're doing something like that with a movie camera, with a moving camera, it's really important to have things in the background, either with a like pretty high contrast or even if it's like a wall or something in the background to put like marks on the wall so you'll have something that you can do the match moving with to keep it straight.
Right, that's something you have to keep an eye out. Like if you don't do tracking markers,
Right.
which later you have to erase, um, something in the background that your software, and you got to know the software, you got to know how all this works. Plenty of YouTube video tutorials out there, whether you're using After Effects, Hit Film, Nuke, whatever the kids are using these days. You need to know how that stuff works in order to get a good result. So the way I learned was just going off of tutorials,
Yeah.
and they would have examples and they'd have example footage, and you think, oh, this is just footage, but it's footage that was set up to do this. So
Right.
you can kind of pick up on, okay, they really tried to include this in the shot. They really tried to exclude this. They tried to not have a person cross the tracking marker. Um, so that's all stuff that you have to keep in mind if you're going to shoot a visual effects shot, because you get the set and what you envision is not there.
Exactly. I mean, you have to have a real vision of that. You have to really shoot for that. You have to keep in mind tracking. And also, like, and then of course there's the green screen. And that's like where a lot of people will, like fall down because they don't really understand how to shoot green screen, which is the first thing is that you have to try to get as flat lighting on the screen as possible and, make the screen as smooth as possible. I mean, if I'm using like a regular green screen material type of thing, like cloth, I usually always bring sort of a steam, not a steam iron, but one of those steam pressers with me where you just,
Okay.
sit up and down.
They
And
have a like wrinkle release spray too.
right,
Yeah.
that sort of thing to make sure you get that. And then the thing is, you want to try the thing that where people, I notice a lot of times people will have the person standing right up against the green screen. And the point, and the thing is, you need to get the person, far away back from the green screen
Right.
in order to eliminate like the green spill that comes on
There's
them.
spill, there's the actor's shadows.
Right.
You really need to light the green screen with different lights than you're lighting your talent.
Exactly. And you need your talent really separated from the screen in order to get something different. Because I'll tell you, once you get into a program like After Effects or whatever, you have a really bad green screen shot, it can really be hell to try to make that work.
Right.
And sometimes you just really can't, which means that, if you don't have time to go back, that you're going to have to, ta-da, you're going to have to go with the dreaded rotoscoping. And,
Yeah.
that's you can go on for days and hours. I mean, I've done that where I've just really banged my head into the table.
Yeah, and let me tell you, like I used to do a lot of rotoscoping in school. When I was the time I had that wasn't at school, I would dedicate to stuff like that. And it wasn't so bad with standard definition digital, but then we came to HD, and I did my first HD rotoscope, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And then I had offered to help somebody out rotoscoping on a 4K shot, and oh my god, that was like almost impossible.
Oh yeah.
Every little jitter, like there's more pixels. It's everything is clear, so you're gonna see wobble. You're gonna see everything that we know to avoid.
And there are programs, like Silhouette, which is like basically pretty much one that's right for like Maca or Silhouette, which is even supposedly a little bit better. But the truth of the matter is, there's no super shortcut. There really isn't. It's like for some make it a little faster, and they have tools to try to keep it a little better.
Right.
But especially in type of a green screen where you have somebody like this moving their head or whatever, and you have to constantly change the shape of the mask. That's what's like living hell. I
That's
mean,
difficult.
yeah. If at least if whatever you're rotoscoping, if it's moving, if at least your shape isn't changing, you can go from frame to frame, moving the whole mat. But boy, when you got something moving around, it can be hard. So it definitely pays to do your proper due diligence when you're doing green screen.
Right. Yeah. It's just something as simple as like a nose turning or an ear. Um, that can be a pain. And
Oh yeah,
I use different objects for those. It can be tricky if you have to move them all together. But I feel the best way to go about it is like for my face, an oval around my head. If
right,
I have to do my nose, then I will do another shape for those frames. If I have to do my ear, it'll be another shape because somebody could move, somebody could go like this, and you got to crush
right.
all those things down, and it just doesn't work to use one thing. So it might seem like it's going to take more time, but I think you get a better result because you
Oh,
can
you're
set you could
absolutely
set
right.
feathers differently, and you could set smoothing and even opacity for
And the one
hair.
thing about Mocha that's really nice is when you're doing that, you can at first do like a motion track on the whole thing and
Mm.
then link that to your rotoscope so that, at least that'll help you with a little bit with the movement. I mean, with that, any little thing you can do to speed things along, God bless you.
Right. Yeah. A lot of the software has been incorporating, even Premiere. You can do easy things with masks for any effect for opacity, um, and you can track, which just makes everything so it's you have something to start with. You're not starting from scratch.
Right. With like Luma mats, track matting, and things like that. A lot of times, for me, it'll be a combination of all those things to get like something, decent. I might start out with Luma mat, track matting it where, things are still almost completely clear in the background, but you're still getting a little bit of bleed through, and then you end up with the rotoscope. But what's happening is not as critical with the edges because most of the background's already gone, and
Right.
things like that.
Right.
But there are all
Interesting.
these things that you have to think about. But I mean, it's something that like it's good to have a working knowledge of because it can really take your project to the next level.